Hi there. Hello, Love Ahimsa group. I'm really happy to be here. Now, I just want to check if you jump on, can you let me know that you can hear me okay? Because the other day, on Monday, when I was doing my Monday morning meditation, I happily sat there. Lovely meditation, one of the best ones I've done in a while. Just so much lovely stuff came out of my brain. and and then after half an hour, when I finished, I realised that my mic had been turned off for the whole time. So I'm learning my lesson. I'm sure my mic's turned on, but perhaps you can let me know if you can hear me okay. That would be really great. And also, it would be really great if you are watching, if you just drop a comment to say hi, because it's really cool to know who's here and to know who I'm talking to. So I'm here this evening. My name is Frances, and I'm here to talk to you about creating manageable habits as a busy mum to support your self-care. I'll just have a sip of my tea, sorry. So I'm a yoga teacher and a hypnotherapist, and I am also a busy mum. So I've got 3 kids. I've got a 13-year-old son who you might be able to hear playing the guitar upstairs, and I've got twin girls who are just 11, and they could come crashing in at any time, although they won't be too loud because they know I do this kind of thing a lot. So they're pretty used to it, bless them. But I know what it's like to be trying to juggle everything, juggling. I used to work in a stressful job in London as an operations manager, in the rat race, and trying to juggle work and family and home and stay sane at the same time. So I know about how it can be a real challenge. So I have been on my own journey, learning along the way how to support myself as, how to look after myself really, because that was something that I was not even aware of probably like 5 or 6 years ago. I had no concept of self-care or looking after myself. And so I was in that cycle of a constant high level stress state, and being really emotional and reactive and not really being able to think straight, finding it hard to spend quality time with the kids, and relationships suffering, and ultimately my health wasn't great either. That really sort of made me get serious. That made me take a serious look at how what my habits were, really, my habits. So that's why I now talk about how we can create healthier habits, especially as busy mums. So yeah, what I'm here to talk to you about this evening is how you can create some manageable habits in your life. And what I did a while ago, I did a challenge which was really great in my group. We did a 15-minute a day challenge, which was just spending 5 minutes movement, 5 minutes meditation, and 5 minutes on our mindset each day. And that was really a really successful challenge, and got some really good feedback. And even because I do it too, and it was just like I knew that small was and manageable is the way to go when we're building habits, but I didn't realize just how powerful that 15 minutes a day could be. And it's sometimes the simplest things that we think, oh, surely it can't be that simple. Surely we have to do more. We always think we need to do more, don't we? So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about habits themselves and kind of how we can help ourselves to create those habits. And then I'm going to talk to you a bit about those 3 areas specifically. So movement and meditation and mindset. And then I'm going to just open it up for some questions if you have any questions. If you don't, you can always get in touch with me afterwards if you're catching this on the replay. So yes, I'll drop all my details in the comments to this video so that you can always come and find me later if you've got any questions. So let's start with first of all, like, why we want to create these habits. Like, what's the point? I'm sure that you probably realize the benefits of taking care of yourself. But just, to break it down simply, I love simplicity personally. It just is the way my brain works. So we want to bolster our resources. So we're thinking about things that will lift our energy, that will give us the energy to, and especially, I don't want to generalize too much, but as mums, it's not always the case, but most of the time, sometimes the mums are the ones that are kind of steering the ship, I think. And it's almost like once your energy goes, your sense of humour, your, then everyone's energy goes. The whole ship goes down, basically. If you go down, the whole ship goes down. That's the way I think of it. So, it's really tricky as mums because we just want to look after everyone else. So it can be very difficult to take time for ourselves, and it can feel selfish. But there has to be some kind of reframing in your mind about that. And the way that I reframed that in my mind to actually make time to look after myself was by thinking about how, as I said, if I went down, how that would negatively affect my kids, basically. And in the other way, if you look at it the other way around, if my energy is high, if I am, feeling good, and, you've got your sense of humour and you're feeling creative, and, you want to spend quality time together, there's space, for all the things you want to do, then that filters down to everyone else in your family. And as well as that, I think it also filters and spreads to your work life as well. I think once you start on this path of making time for yourself to support your energy, to support the way that you feel, then that then spreads to all the other areas of your life. And that's why it is such a transformative thing. But it's not necessarily easy. Okay, so let's acknowledge that it's not easy. It's not easy to do. So that's one of the barriers that you might come up against, is this idea that there's loads of other stuff that you should be doing, right? There's the to-do list, isn't there? And the funny thing about to-do lists is that they never come to an end. There's always going to be housework. There's always going to be stuff to do. You can always find more and more and more. So it's about prioritizing, and it's about putting these things that you're going to choose, these things that make you feel good, these habits. I'm just suggesting movement, meditation, mindset as good starting points, but you might have other things that you really want to do. It's about putting them in at the top of the to-do list and making sure that that is done, and then you carry on with your day. So it's about reprioritizing, reframing it in your mind so that you realize that this time that's spent on you is actually also dedicated to all of the people around you. And it's also about reprioritizing it and putting it at the top of your to-do list. So bolstering our resources, so making ourselves feel good, so that we can be there for everyone, so that we're feeling good and strong, building resilience, feeling strong. I don't just mean physically, I mean emotionally as well, mentally. And that's why meditation is so wonderful. It builds resilience mentally as well. And, so you may have the physical side covered, maybe you're already getting a bit of exercise in, but I think meditation really adds that level of extra resource. It gives us a way of being able to manage the challenges that come along with a bit more ease. So we start to, instead of, as I was saying earlier, instead of being reactive to the things that go on around us and being really emotional, really emotionally reacting, we're able to create a bit more space around challenges and perhaps approach things with a bit more intention. Things perhaps just feel a bit more spacious. So if you're watching this, do drop a comment to say hi, because it's really nice to know who's here. I'm just going to check because sometimes it shows me, but no, I don't think it is. So so the reason that we're creating these habits is to bolster our resources and to build resilience so that we can meet challenges with a bit more ease. And it's also another way of connecting back to ourselves. As mums, it's sometimes the case that we have lost ourselves a little bit, and that does happen. And so it's a way of reconnecting back to ourselves. And as we do that more and more, and as you do these small acts of self-care, these small little actions of things for you to take care of yourself, it's a really great way of improving your sense of self-worth. You are proving to yourself that you are worthy. You're caring for yourself. These just little acts of kindness towards yourself is really great for improving your sense of self-worth. Hi there, let me know if you're watching. It'd be lovely to hear from you. I've just been saying about what we're going to be talking about this evening. We're going to be talking about these manageable habits and how we can create them, how we can reframe in our mind how we approach this time that we're taking for ourselves so that it's going to be beneficial for the people around us, and how we can reprioritize this time for ourselves so that it goes at the top of the to-do list, because our to-do lists are never ending. So it's really important that we start to put this time at the top of our things to do. So connecting back to ourselves, improving our sense of self-worth, these are the reasons why we want to start to install these habits. Okay, so let's talk a bit about habits, and I'm just going to have another slurp of tea because I find when I'm talking for ages, I just get really thirsty. Drop me a comment to say hi. I don't know if it's going to tell me who's here, but it'd be really lovely to hear from you. I was saying that I'm a yoga teacher. I'm Frances, if I haven't met you before. Maybe I've met some of you before. And also a mum of 3. So I know what it's like to be trying to fit this stuff in around a busy life. Okay, so let's talk about habits. There's some things that we can do to kind of hack our habits. Oh, Reb, hi. Oh, well, I've been chatting away for 10 minutes, so I'm sure people can catch it on the replay if they're not here yet. So I'm gonna hi Lucy, how are you doing? So I'm just going to talk a little bit about how we can hack our habits, right? So the important thing is that we start small and manageable, because when we try these grand big gestures of things we're going to do, for instance, I mean, like an hour of yoga a day, who's going to do that really? I mean, if you've got kids, it's just not going to happen, is it? It certainly doesn't happen with me. Big sort of grand ideas of like, I'm going to meditate for half an hour a day. when we make the habits, these ideas too big, our brains just can't cope with it. It's like you just shut down. You're like, it's just not going to happen, you know? So we set an intention that is just not manageable. Hi, Amy. Thanks for tuning in. It's nice to have you here. Yeah, so it's really important that we start small and manageable with our habits. And as I was saying earlier, I am going to be talking to you about movement, meditation, and mindset habits. But you know, this goes for any kind of habits at all that you want to instill in your life. Any habits that are going to bolster your reserves of energy, build resilience for you, and help you connect back to yourself. So whatever that habit is, you want it to be small and manageable. And actually, there's science that says that 2 minutes is a great place to start. Just 2 minutes a day. You make it actually smaller than you know, it's like you could definitely do more than you make the chunk of time. So that's why for me 5 minutes is a really great one. You know, 5 minutes is nothing, is it really? And it's almost like too small, and you think, well, you know, what's the point? But the point is very important. As I said before, when we take the time for these things, these actions of self-care for ourselves, we're sending a very important message to ourselves that we are important, and it will improve our sense of self-worth. It's going to really start to embed, you know, new patterns in the mind, basically. So small is great. 5 minutes a day, I think, is a wonderful place to start for whatever you're going to be doing. And we're going to be talking today about 5 minutes of movement, meditation, and mindset. And I'll give you some ideas of what you could do in those 5 minutes. Small and manageable. Okay. The second idea is habit stacking. And I don't know if any of you have heard of habit stacking before. There's actually a lot of these ideas are from a really amazing book that you can take a look at if you like, called Atomic Habits by James Clear. So he talks about habit stacking. So for instance, something that I do sometimes is I will, if I'm setting an intention that I want to, one of the habits I want to work on is breathing. I want to include more breathing practice in my day. And so I might say to myself, right, in the shower, I'm going to do my 5 minutes of breathing. You know, so you're stacking one habit on top of another. And really the aim with these habits, these healthy habits that we're trying to cultivate, to develop, is we want them to become unconscious. So we want them to become things that we do without thinking. Because something like 90% of the stuff we do is unconscious in our lives, our daily lives. Some of that stuff's good, some of it's not so good. So for instance, brushing our teeth or making your bed in the morning, you just don't think about it. You don't think I'm going to do it. You don't sort of have to spend time thinking about it. It's just something you do every day without fail. So if we can actually sort of hack that a little bit and stack on one of the things that we want to do with one of the things that's already unconscious. So for me, one that I use is that for my meditation, my say 5 minutes meditation, I'll stack that with bedtime. So as soon as I've got into bed and I'm sitting in bed, haven't laid down yet, but there's nothing else to do, nowhere else to be, I set my timer for 5 minutes, 5 minutes of meditation, and then go to bed. So it's a really good, useful thing that we can do is stacking our habits together. Getting specific about what we're going to do. So I think it's really important to get specific about what those habits are going to be. And we can talk about that a little bit more when I come into the movement, meditation and mindset parts of this. But, well, for instance, so in our journaling exercise that I'll show you in a little while, one of the parts is to jot down what exercise you intend to do for that day. Or I don't like to use the word exercise, what movement you intend to do for that day. And when you jot that down, you get specific about it. So you jot down what you're going to do, where you're going to do it. So it's almost like you're starting to picture it in your mind and visualizing yourself doing the things that you want to do, doing these habits is really powerful. So that's another thing that you can use to help you, is simply visualizing yourself doing what it is that you want to do. So there's starting small and manageable, getting really specific about what you're going to do, habit stacking, visualization, getting a community around you that's going to support you. So like-minded people who are interested in the same things. And that is really, really useful. Which is why groups like this Love Ahimsa group is so useful. So I cover a lot of this stuff in a lot more detail in a course that I do called the Healing Habits course. And when I do the Healing Habits course, we talk about all this stuff, like how to embed habits. We go a little bit more into beliefs and things that can hold you back. So barriers to doing things. And I talked about that a little bit at the beginning in case you missed it. I was saying about how as mums, one of the barriers to doing this stuff is often that we feel it's selfish. And that might be a belief that you might have. Certainly one that I had, when I sort of first started on this journey. But how could I sort of take time to do this stuff when I've got all this other stuff to do for the family, and I should be spending the time with them every single moment? And actually, that, it's about reframing that belief to realize that actually by taking this time for yourself, you are benefiting the people around you. You can dedicate this time to them because you will realize that actually you're going to be more able to be there for the people around you if you take this time for yourself. And we're only talking about 15 minutes here, aren't we? So yeah, we talk about all this stuff in more detail in that course that I do, the Healing Habits course. We talk about movement, meditation, mindset. I just wanted to mention it because other habits that you might want to think about incorporating as a sort of holistic approach: movement, meditation, mindset, and then also eating well and sleep and relaxation. And I think those 5 pillars all really work well together because they all kind of support each other, and if one of those pillars is sort of lacking, it can sort of really throw out the balance. They will support each other to really, again, it's coming back to that idea of bolstering your resources and building your resilience and giving you, connecting back to yourself and improving your sense of self-worth. So that's just a side note. And especially, I'd say, I just think sleep and relaxation is a really important one as busy mums to sort of perhaps set an intention around, even if it's just going to bed a bit earlier, to really sort of get that sleep. It's so powerful. Sleep is so powerful and restorative. That it can really, it really is a good way of bolstering, your energy reserves. Okay, so let's talk a bit about movement. And, obviously I'm a yoga teacher, so yoga is a great way to move. So say you're setting yourself 5 minutes per day to move. Now, it could be yoga that you do. There's tons and tons of stuff out there on the internet. There's so many free resources for all kinds of movement. It could be that you really like running, or it could be walking. Movement is movement. And I'm not going to say that yoga is better than anything else. Actually, what's really important, I think it's better than everything else. Not really. What's really important is that it is something that you enjoy. So actually, what would be really great is if you drop in the comments, what is your favorite way of moving, exercising, whatever you want to call it. Let me know, because I think that's interesting. Have you got, what thing brings you joy? What thing is not a chore, And is that something that you could do for 5 minutes a day? Reb, I'm wondering if your thing will be roller skating. Dancing, yeah. Yeah. Oh my God, dancing is such a good one. Yeah. And I was going to say that. Thank you for reminding me. I mean, put one song on. Yeah, 5 minute song. It's like a no-brainer. Mini kitchen disco. Yeah, dancing is awesome. I think it's such a good one. Yoga is obviously great. Yoga's great. It's like, I think what some people find is they're like, oh, I don't know what to do. If you're kind of doing something self-led. If you're familiar and you're like, okay, I know what I like doing. I think it's less important what you do. It's more important that you do it. And the other thing that I was going to say is to make it mindful. Whatever it is that you're doing, to do it to feel into your body. So it's not just something to do and get done, even though it's just 5 minutes. It's like to be able to do it and feel it in your body, because embodiment is a really powerful practice. And that's why yoga's great, I think, because it's so much about embodiment. It's so much about feeling and sensing into our bodies. And that is really important for us, coming back to our bodies, as mums, getting to know ourselves again. I had a session today with a lady, and she won't mind me talking about this. And she literally, there was sort of parts of her body that when I was doing certain stuff with her, certain movements, and I was saying, what does that feel like? Where do you feel that? And she was like, I don't feel anything. What am I supposed to be feeling? And she got quite shocked. She was like, I can't believe I didn't realize that, I wasn't feeling that, or, that my body wasn't working in that way. And I think we sometimes lose touch with our bodies, don't we? We lose touch with what's going on. And it's like when we don't, I was explaining to her today, when we don't use parts of our body, the neural pathways, your brain starts to think you don't need to use them anymore. So it sort of shuts down parts, and we lose feeling, we lose mobility. And it's really, it's such an interesting thing, all to do with the nervous system and the brain-body connection. So I think mindfully moving, feeling and sensing as you're doing it, rather than just rushing through, is another really great approach. So that's movement. And, it sounds like you're all going to be dancing every morning, hopefully, and just get it done. And how great is that going to make you feel? In fact, I'm going to start doing that as one of my, maybe set my intention that that's going to be my movement for the next week or so. I tend to do little bits of stuff at the kettle as well. So I like, whenever I'm boiling the kettle, I'll do little bits of yoga-y stuff. But that's, I just wonder, like, it depends if you have stuff that you like doing. And if you ever want any help with any of this stuff, or like figuring out what stuff you want to do, when, what, which, then you can just get in touch with me, and we can chat about that. But I just wanted to emphasize, it doesn't matter so much what you're doing. It's that you do it. So you set that intention, you get specific about what it's going to be. You think about where you're going to do it and when, what time. And the other thing that you can do, which is really good, is track it. So, for instance, this is one of my habits that I really wanted to develop, was improving how far I was walking. I wanted to walk more. That was my intention. I want to walk more. So I could track that with my steps. It's just really simple stuff. I can track, am I walking more? And that's really useful. So you could just track it by jotting down what you're doing each day. And then that's another simple way of doing it. Okay, so let's move on to meditation. And that's really useful. My cat's just like sat right on my notes, but it's okay because I talk about this all the time, so it'll be fine. He'll probably scratch me if I try and get him off it. He often attacks me during my classes, and it gets a bit embarrassing. So I'm not going to try and do that now. So meditation. Oh, can you let me know if you've done meditation before? Do you do much meditation yourself? Just drop it in the comments. Samala, Claire, that is so cute. I think dancing with the kids in the morning is such a great idea. I'm going to start doing that. So let me know if you do much meditation. Have you tried it? What's your experience? Because it can be quite challenging. I mean, I certainly found it challenging when I first started sort of dabbling with it. So Lucy doesn't. So I will definitely talk to you about why it's worth it, because that's what I needed to know. I was like, why am I even doing this? What's it all about? There's a mystery to me. Carly, you do. Yeah, I mean, I was very much, and I like to know the why behind what I do, because otherwise that's just the way my brain works. I'm like, why are we doing this again? Like, I need to know the benefits. You struggle to commit to it, Reb. Yeah, it is. It is hard to commit to it. I get that. I definitely get that. What I've found is letting go of the idea of sitting cross-legged, peacefully, serenely. If you let go of that idea and realize that you can do it anywhere, and you can do it even when the kids are around, and things don't have to be serene, and you can do it in any environment. That helped me, because so I'll be meditating now, and the kids will come in and I'll hear them come in. Sometimes I might open an eye and just be like, you right? And they'll just be like, okay, yeah. And sometimes I won't open my eyes and they just know and they'll go away. It's okay. It doesn't matter if they interrupt you. It's fine. It doesn't have to be perfect. I think that's a really great, thing to remember. Samala, that is great to do it with your 8-year-old. That is lovely that they want to do it. Mine are all like, oh, meditation. No thanks. So, and Carly, you enjoy it, but do it sporadically. Yeah. So the reason, let me talk about just briefly for you, Lucy, mainly. The reason, and well, for everyone else as well. I mean, why we do it, the benefits of meditation are really that it's an opportunity to rest the mind. I don't know if you find, if you have, I mean, I did a post in my group a couple of days ago saying, are you an overthinker? I've been chatting to so many overthinkers recently, and maybe you're an overthinker too. It can be exhausting. I think we all are a bit like that in this society that we live in. We're so overstimulated. So a busy mind, spiraling thoughts going forwards into the future, constantly trying to preempt what's going to happen. Do you ever get that? Like you're trying to, preempt worst case scenarios all the time. What would I do? Figuring it out. The mind is a very amazing tool. It's really good at its job. It's trying to protect us, but sometimes it just, once we get into that habit, it can be very hard to then rest the mind, and it can be exhausting, these thoughts. So you get those spiraling thoughts into the future, you get spiraling thoughts sort of going over things from the past. What meditation does is help us come into the present moment. So it helps us to come back from those thoughts. We train our mind to come back to the present, and it becomes quieter and restful and peaceful. That's not to say that thoughts stop, and I think that it can be misleading to think that meditation is no thoughts, because it's not. The mind is designed to think. I like to think of it more of just a bit more space, a little bit more peace, a little bit quieter. So meditation being that, coming back to the present, there's a few ways that we can do it. So we can use focus points. So we're really focusing the mind on something to bring it into the present moment, and then away from spiraling thoughts. So really, if you think about it like that, there's lots of different ways that we can meditate. Okay, so I just thought I'd chat to you a little bit about the different ways, because different ways suit different people. Like, one thing to remember is that if you're in a very high stress state, if you're coming from a very high stress state, being still and quiet can actually be almost unbearable. So you don't need to feel like you have to be still and have to be quiet to gain the benefits of meditation. Buddhists do a walking meditation. You know, you can do moving meditations. That's, you know, a lot of yoga is meditative, or can be. So there are meditations that you can do with movement. So simple things like you can use your hands to follow your breath. That's something that I do. So you breathe in, bring your hands up, breathe out, bring your hands down, and just start to follow the breath with your hands. It's super simple. So I think sometimes if you find meditation hard, starting with something where you're bringing in a little bit of movement is useful. Okay, so we've got movement, we've got the breath. So the breath is a constant. It's always there with us, or it should be if we're alive. And so we can use the breath to focus our attention on. Now, you can just let go of any ideas of like kind of fancy breath techniques, breathing techniques, which are really great. But I think sometimes let's just move them out the way, and just, if you're just focusing on meditation, start with simple breath awareness. So simply feeling your breath as it moves into the body through the nose, down the back of the throat, into the lungs, and back out. Following that journey of your breath as it flows in and flows out. And you can just start to do that now as I'm talking, just breathing in. Notice how your breath feels. Breathe out. Notice how it feels. And then you can also connect with how your body responds to your breath. So as you breathe in, your body expands and makes space for the breath to come in. And as you breathe out, the body releases around the breath, releasing. So there are two things that you can focus on while you're sitting in meditation. Feeling and sensing your breath, the journey of the breath and the way it moves through your body. And there's other techniques too. I use the focal point of the ground a lot in my classes. So the ground is another constant. It's like an anchor point. So just the feeling of the ground beneath your feet, say, or where you're sitting on your chair, that sense of support beneath you is another focal point that you can use. And then you can do things like you can scan through your body, either from the crown of the head down and through, or from the soles of the feet up. It's just another way of focusing your attention on sensation. Other things that you could go into are, I really like as a simple technique, is to count each breath. So you breathe in and count 1, breathe out, count 1, breathe in, count 2, breathe out, count 2. So it's not making your breath longer or shorter, it's just counting your breaths. And you count up to 10, and then you start again at 1. And what you'll find is that your mind wanders, and before you know it, you've counted to like 12 or something, and you're like, oh, you've got to start back at 1 again. And you just gently draw your attention back to the counting. And I like to think of it like taking a small child by the hand who's gone off, wandering off, and you just gently draw them back. So it's like your attention has wandered, and you just gently draw your attention back. So all of this stuff is done with kindness. You don't need to beat yourself up about it. You're not doing it wrong. It's not something that you can perfect. It's just a process and a practice, and it's just about being kind to yourself. So that's meditation. As I said, I tend to do mine in bed, like 5 minutes before I lay down to sleep. Just about that habit stacking again, just making sure I get it in. And finally, I'm going to talk to you about the mindset side of things. So 5 minutes movement, 5 minutes meditation, 5 minutes mindset. And this is journaling. It's a journaling exercise I do every Monday morning in my meditation and mindset session in my group, and it's really powerful. It's about kind of training the brain So what we do is we start by jotting down 3 things that we're grateful for, to start to practice gratitude. And what we're doing is we're practicing feeling the way that we want to feel. Okay, so that's how a lot of this stuff works with habits. It's all about how you want to feel. So these thought patterns, gratitude, we practice feeling gratitude, and then it starts to become a habit. So we jot down 3 things that we're grateful for and really connect with how that feels in your body. And then we jot down something that brought us joy in the last 24 hours or so. And we do that by replaying it in our mind. So again, visualizing, thinking about all the details, sensory inputs, how it looked, how it felt, any sounds you could hear, smells, tastes, who you were with. And you jot down that moment that brought you joy in a few words. And you don't need to write it down as if someone's going to read it later. It doesn't really have to make any sense. Sometimes mine's just kind of words, descriptive words. And again, we're just practicing feeling joy. And then the third thing that we do is we jot down someone that we're going to reach out to with kindness, thanks, or support. Jotting down someone that we're going to reach out to with kindness, thanks, or support. So we're practicing kindness. And the wonderful thing about kindness is it gives us that hormone oxytocin, the love hormone. It gives the love hormone, that oxytocin, feel-good hormone, to the person receiving the kindness. You get some of it as the person who's dishing out the kindness. And they've done this study that shows when people watch acts of kindness, they get that surge of oxytocin too. So you get this kind of wonderful spreading of, feel good hormones around, which is just, I think, a wonderful thing. So that's my journaling exercise, the happy, healthy journaling exercise. As part, jot down what movement you're going to do, what meditation you're going to do, get specific. Where are you going to do it and when? So you can start to use that journaling framework to support doing your movement and meditation as well. So I think I've probably given you enough of my ramblings there. And I hope that you found some use out of some of that stuff. Let me know if you've got any questions at all. Perhaps let me know. What I'd love to hear is there something else that you'd love to make a habit? Have you got something that you just really want to, you're dying to start to fit in? And it could be in these categories, movement, meditation, mindset, or it could be something else. I'd just be interested to hear. Is there something that you know that really brings you joy, that really does bolster your energy reserves and boost you? Or maybe you're not sure. Maybe you're still thinking. Present. So you're saying you do sometimes meditate, you bring yourself back to the present. Yeah. I mean, you can do things mindfully. That's mindfulness, isn't it? Making a cup of tea mindfully, doing the dishes mindfully. I think there's some benefit to meditation as well that I have felt personally. Just taking that time, and I feel like it gives me space, and a bit of peace. You'd like to dance more and see close friends more. Both boost me hugely. Yeah. Yeah, do you think you're going to fit in that 5 minutes of dancing a day, Lucy? I'm definitely going to do that tomorrow. You want to do all 3 every day? Well, I tell you what, because another good thing that's really useful if you want to do this stuff is to get accountable. So yeah, just by saying it and writing it down, you're kind of you're setting that intention for a start. And perhaps Reb in her group could come back and hold you accountable, maybe in a week's time or something, and say, did you do it? Samala, Claire, I definitely need more sleep, just feels impossible. Meditation helps so much, couldn't function without it at this time in my life. Yeah, I agree. It does help, it really does, doesn't it? It's got me through some really tricky stuff. Sleep. Why does sleep feel impossible for you? Have you got really young kids? I wonder if there's, yeah, I don't know. If it's because you can't sleep, then I find yoga nidra really, really useful. And just in general, relaxation techniques, guided relaxations, practicing relaxation is really good for helping with your sleep quality. Oh yeah, because if it's kids, then it's a different story, isn't it? And yeah, it is tough. It is, and that's why it's great that you've got the meditation, and because that will build your reserves, won't it? And it will hopefully pass, and you'll be able to catch up when you can to get that rest. And Reb, yes, I think the struggle is when sleep is lacking, I just sit and scroll on my phone and lose precious moments. Do you know what? It's interesting you say that about the phone. I have just done something which has been really useful. I've deleted Facebook and Instagram from my phone, so I can only look at them on my desktop. And so what it's made me realise is that how addicted to my phone I was, because I now pick up my phone and I just look at it and there's nothing to look at and I'm just looking anyway and I'm like, oh, what am I doing? And it's really amazing how spacious suddenly everything feels. It's really made a big difference. I know it's a bit intense to take it off the phone, isn't it? But especially because I use it for work, but I've just managed to find ways that I can do it on the desktop and plan ahead a little bit better, and it's really been a game changer. Reb, you should definitely have an accountability thing to follow up on all of this. I think that would be really great. And Samala, I really feel for you. Yeah, it's really tricky, broken sleep, isn't it? One day it will happen for sure. Okay, guys, I'm going to head now because I need to go and check on the kids. It's been really lovely to spend this time with you. Thank you for having me here. If you need to ask me anything or get in touch, then I will drop my details in the comments in this video and you can just come and say hi. So I'm going to say goodbye now and go and see where my children are because they're playing out and I'm like, it's a bit late now. Okay, so enjoy the rest of your evening and I will catch up with you soon, I hope. Thanks for having me here. All right, take it easy.